I think there's probably two very different approaches to professional learning. You know, one approach is didactic, where we say, I'm going to do all the thinking as the director, and then I will tell you about it and you'll enact it, you'll mimic it. It's like a manifest destiny sort of run amok. You know, we know where we're heading, we're just going to take you with us. The second approach is more rhizomatic. You're not designing the space, you're going to occasion space. And when you occasion space, what happens is people start to fill it in all different kinds of ways. And if you don't control them, they do things you haven't anticipated because they're thinking.
The question is necessarily not about reform, but it really completely rethinking our view of education. For schools to neglect the realities of the world, how are you preparing kids to be successful, not necessarily in college, but obviously beyond that.
What we've done before as teachers were that we were the content experts. Now a kid might go home and might have done some research that puts them one up on you as a teacher, you know, in terms of what they were looking at. And so you then have to learn how to deal with that as a teacher and be comfortable dealing with that situation. It changes the whole model of education.
So how do teachers deal with this reality? With so much information readily available to students outside of school, how do you keep them engaged within a classroom setting?
I don't think you can learn if you don't have autonomy and agency. I mean, I think you can mimic, but learning requires agency. And I think that's what happened with Classics Academy. The teachers designed what they were going to do.
What is this question and what did you find out in terms of your research?
Going through the motions isn't a good way to express it, but it's like the closest I can get to the first 3 years in high school because there wasn't a lot of critical thinking.
We're very good at, I guess the word to use would be like, we're playing school. And I feel like a lot of smart kids in high school play school. And the Classics Academy has been really fun for me because it's been all about not playing school. All about actually thinking, actually getting into it. Doing work because you want to, because you're interested in the topic, not just because it's part of the curriculum.
In 2010, Morristown High School piloted a program called the Classics Academy. With just 9 students, 4 teachers, and 4 classes, the Academy combines history, technology, and creativity to provide an environment for the students to develop critical thinking skills and cultivate their talents.
The passions and interests of teachers and students matter and have a place in the classroom. And I think that you probably had some teachers that were passionate about the study of classical civilizations and how important it could be to students and wanted to see that play out in the classroom.
I just kind of thought it was something I couldn't pass up as an opportunity because it just sounded so incredible, especially since I wanted to major in philosophy and music. So
I think it's a really interesting way of approaching learning with the whole academy and focusing all of your classes around one common theme, but having like a Latin class and an English class and a math class all like kind of tie into this theme.
And our goal for the Classics Academy was really to, under the guise of classics, meaning ancient Rome and Greece, to kind of integrate all of those subjects together.
And that's what the beauty of the classics is, it's this basic elemental archetypal structure that allows people to recognize the roots and then see where they go.
Now this structure, this roof, this dome is not made out of bricks, it's made out of concrete. We've been approaching this as just an integrated worldview. When they go out into the real world, life is not going to be like different subjects. It's all together, and they have to figure out how to put all of their knowledge together and think in creative ways and innovative ways to be successful in life.
I love being able to sit around in a circle. We'll read text or we'll be introduced to a topic, and then everyone kind of gets to talk about it and we figure things out through discussion.
Well, no, see, the thing about it is that it's very subjective.
We get a lot more say in how we're educated. I mean, they're more discussion-based than lecture-based. We're not living by a strict regimen, and we can kind of really research what interests us.
It's been actually a really cool experience because I like the direction that the whole program is going in. It seems that the courses are much more tailored to the students that are in them.
And I think the big difference is that in the past, in my experiences with the school, teachers have shied away from the use of technology and kind of had labeled technology as an evil.
You're now in a building that is completely wireless. We've changed the acceptable use policy. Kids and teachers can bring in their personal devices and use them in an instructional setting. The Classics Academy was the first place that we started the one-to-one iPad program. So every teacher in the Classics Academy and every kid received an iPad.
Suddenly a world of opportunity begins to open up for access for the students, not only to us as teachers, but also to the material in sort of very deep ways, 24/7.
Beyond manufacturing white-collar jobs.
Using technology in the classroom has not only engaged students, but has also allowed for innovations in learning.
Well, I think technology has made a lot of it really possible. It just really opened up the classroom. Okay, everybody come online and we're going to talk about the video we saw in class. Well, if we didn't have enough time to do it, have the discussion in class, we just do it at home, online. That's really revolutionary.
Yeah, one of the hot topics that people have been talking about is this idea of what's called flipping instruction. So the idea is that the students come into the classroom and they're actually doing the work with the teacher together in class that they usually would have done for homework at home. But then they go home, and this is where the technology comes into play. I'll actually give my lectures as podcasts to the students, and they'll go home and that becomes their homework. They listen to the lectures. And today we're going to be taking a look at Virgil, book 4, lines 160 to 172. They'll come in with questions that they have, and then we actually work on the problems together.
It's almost like working with your own personal tutors next to you the whole time, and then you go home and you study however is best for you.
So they're all what?
There.
So the instructions are to build the tallest freestanding structure with what you have. Yeah, we have to.
Okay, the students are interested, they're learning, but with a program like this, how do you measure the success?
19 and a half.
19 and a half, that's
19 and a half.
One could say that was probably where the greatest pushback was, or hesitation, but we actually reached out to college admission counselors and those who oversee just the admissions process and shared with them our idea and shared with them the documents that we were producing. And overwhelmingly, it was positive. And particularly the wheel class, the symposium class. I mean, you won't find too many high schools that are running a class on creativity.
I think senior year is a series of moments that occur to close you down to graduation. And for you, of course, next Wednesday is a big one, at Classics Academy night. We wanted them to have a final culminating experience in the Academy and an opportunity for them to really connect with their passions and represent an answer to a question.
Everything that happens in the old fables about them.
We had always wanted this project to be like sort of the shining moment for the students and then get them to the point where they could create something that was original, wildly creative, and validated by experts.
I'd like to take this opportunity to formally welcome everyone to the inaugural Classics Academy night. While tonight is very much about a cohort of dedicated, talented, innovative, and remarkable students, I would be remiss if I did not point out that what you're about to witness is also the result of connecting learners with committed mentors. The leap of faith these teachers are willing to take has proven to be a beacon of light as we continue to discuss how to redesign the high school.
By the end of the year, to actually see the thing in the flesh, it had become so much larger and more meaningful than anything we could have anticipated. It was amazing.
I was walking around and it's there.
I did not anticipate at all what I saw.
We end up getting someone like Mike DeMare, who carved out the mask of the Minotaur, working with his father, I look at what Mike produced, and that's something that he's going to have for the rest of his life. All of the projects up to there had been building, and I think they built up to Gloria's right in the center because it's out of control. In what high school does this happen, where a student will compose a 4 to 5 minute sonata and then have a 23-piece student orchestra who are all volunteers, in which she's coordinated herself, perform the piece? I mean, unbelievable. You know, her piece represents, for me, one of those moments where we see the student going far beyond anything you could have imagined.
I think I've learned this year to be willing to take a risk, because this was a huge risk, and it turned out to be one of the most extraordinary experiences. People need to be excited all the time, challenged always.
What you see is really kids assuming ownership over learning, and I think that's truly important. This idea of building academies, of giving students choice of how they want to go through their 4 years of high school is significant.
It's a really great group of people, and it's a really great program, and I hope that it can continue in the future because I think they really struck onto something.
The Classics Academy has really allowed me to connect very deeply with one of the things that I feel passionately about, and that's creativity.
I mean, that's the revolution, is do you have something that you want to commit to? Not just because you get the paycheck or it's your job title, but because you can't imagine not doing it.
I think the more that we can share this story with people in the public, to let them know that the world has changed and we have to change the system of education, and that's what we're trying to do here.